something I don't miss about having a sports car, getting the thing up on jack stands. Seems like you gotta set aside half a day before you can even start working on it. But it's up there, elevated, pull the wheels and tires off, which only makes sense for easier access. Also, it's an opportunity to point out some of the other modifications that are already done to our Trans Am. Pretty recent brake rotors front and rear that are drilled and slotted. And someone put this rubberized red goo, silicone something, probably to keep the brakes quiet, but then they thought it looked cool. May have to address that. These new I-box springs are here with their part numbers on them, and the struts are new as well. This is a Firestone, what they call coil-right airbag. Now, similar like we put airbags on the truck to hold extra weight, I assume these are for anti-squat. Now, since the suspension is completely unloaded, you can tell things are pretty loose and we could take it out of there pretty easily. Also, new shocks. So, when I see a lot of these new parts like this, it makes me think someone recently loved it. You can also tell the shiny red DOM panhard bar. So that hasn't been on there too long. The chrome differential cover tells me they probably had it off, potentially doing a gear change, and just decided to put a chrome one on there anyway, because it's the same amount of effort and they probably thought it looked pretty cool. This is all nice. It looks like repainted, and all the hardware has been freshly operated. Also, this is a lower control arm relocation bracket. These are the lower control arms. By relocating them down here, it keeps the wheel the right spot in the opening of the body. Basically, it relocates the rear wheels to where they were from the factory after the car has been lowered. And up here, if you heard me mention in a previous video, these are subframe connectors. So, by definition, they connect the front subframe to the rear. The great thing is, not only does it provide rigidity in the chassis, it allows almost infinite jacking points along this car, whereas used to it only had points in the front and in the rear. So it's pretty handy. Also, what I see is what looks to be a pretty fresh K&N fuel filter. So here also a nice little piece that provides a jacking point with this plate here, instead of having to come all the way to the subframe and kind of denting it or compressing it in. That's kind of a nice place to jack the car as well. So the car has certainly been previously loved on and recently modified. And so we saw in the back the Flowmaster muffler and this awesome weld work right here. We have V-band clamps holding in these catalytic converters, and V-band clamps at the end of these full-length headers. Sorry about that angle. This is a pretty good head start. It's going to save us an awful lot of money on what it would take to build one of these right, with starting from scratch, or starting stock, if you will. So far I'm pretty happy. This is going to be a lot of work, but the car will be right. I think it'll be fun. Alright, so we started the teardown. Can't get the exhaust loose right there. I did get the catalytic converters off because those V-bands came out pretty nice. And pulled the pan off the transmission. I'm gonna let that valve body drip for a little bit, and then I'll clean this pan out just to get some of the junk out and put it back on. It kind of helps get rid of some of the weight when removing it. Also keeps it from just gushing transmission fluid when we pull that drive shaft out. That's probably a little bigger of an issue than just the bands wore out. And I'm no transmission expert, so I can't pretend to tell you what this broke off from, but probably some kind of sprag gear, or some fancy word they use from automatic transmissions. Remove the torque arm and the drive shaft. Still can't get this section of Y pipe taken down, but without the catalytic converters, it's roomy. I've pulled most of the bolts from the bell housing to the engine. I've taken all 3 bolts out of the torque converter. Of course, you guys saw we drained the pan, so that's empty. Half of these bolts are out, and this nut is extremely loose on the cross member. So it's time to take the last 2 bolts out. We'll slide it back just far enough for it to come off the dowel pins, and then we'll lower it down. The transmission will be out. Here's pro tip number 19, and I'm going to use this to get to some of the higher bolts between the transmission and the engine with an extremely long extension. Now, this is a swivel, and now they do make extensions to where instead of it being swiveled, this kind of has a diamond shape to allow the socket to sort of wobble slightly on it. But this type of swivel will go almost 90 degrees, which sometimes is really a pain in the butt to try to get it to operate when you just want, say, that much angle where you can't reach, like say this socket to get to a bolt. So the pro tip is take a piece of duct tape, hold your socket straight, and wrap that. Now what this will do is create just the right amount of restriction on that socket from bending, or that swivel from, bending. So you can get the job done easier with one hand and not have to buy another tool. Because I would recommend buying one of these type of swivels and then using this tip. You're welcome. So you can see we need to get to that bolt way up there. So we're going to take our socket with the swivel on it that we just customized. I'm going to reach up there. And there we are. Now with this really long extension, we can put a ratchet on the end. That leads us to the next pro tip. I think we're at 20. So when we put that long extension up to the transmission bolts going to the back of the engine, now we have our ratchet on the end. But there's not a lot of leverage here, or as Captain Jack Sparrow says, leverage. So the pro tip is use a box end wrench to wrap it over the end of your ratchet handle. Now you've just multiplied the amount of torque, there it goes, that you can put on your ratchet. Alright, well that was easy enough. So the transmission's out and almost didn't raise the car up high enough. I had to bend it at an angle just to get the housing to fit underneath the chassis. Get it out of there. But here it is. 4L60E, not known to be GM's strongest computer controlled transmission. But if someone knows what they're doing, they can build one of these healthy enough to the 500-600 horsepower range. It's kind of a dead giveaway that this transmission's been worked, because that is not a stock torque converter, and you can see it has Dynamic Torque Converter Manufacturing's logo on it right there. Noticed on their website that this is, they've got Casey Curry actually is endorsing them, whether paid or not, or sponsored, I guess. But anyway, you've heard of Curry Engineering and rear ends. Guy's pretty famous, does a lot of desert racing, off-road stuff. Pretty cool. So, let's get that thing off of there. There we go. Can't really make heads or tails of what any of the other inscriptions are. But fun fact for you. The diameter of a torque converter usually gives away what size stall it is. So this one is almost 12.5 inches. So I would say at most it's probably a 2500 stall converter, likely just a stock replacement. Let's get this thing loaded up and off to the transmission shop. All right, what's in here? So we're off to my friend Wayne's shop, which is at his house. He works for himself building muscle cars. He started out as a little kid. His dad owned and still owns a transmission shop. So Wayne's been around this ever since he was born. So I feel like Wayne's probably more than qualified to work on a transmission that's going to operate a 500 or 600 horsepower car, mostly due to the fact that he's been called to be the clutch man for Top Fuel Funny Car and Top Fuel Dragster teams. Actually, a funny story, I was in Memphis watching the NHRA drag races years and years ago. I hear somebody yell out my name, and it's Wayne. He's substituting for the clutch man that weekend for Don the Snake Perdome's team, which I think at the time was the Miller Lite dragster. Anyway, if he can do those kind of things, I'm sure building a 4L60 to hold 500 or 600 horsepower is well within his capability.